Show. Well, bridging the past with today for a better tomorrow.
Golden Road explores the intersection of arts, environment, culture, health, peace, justice, science, and technology, paving the road for positive social change.
It's the Golden Road TV show. It's the Golden Road TV show.
And welcome to the Golden Road TV and sometimes a radio show. I'm your host, Michael DiMartino, and we're broadcasting live from the heart of Gold Country here in Nevada City. Happy to be here after a very long hiatus during, so many changes in the world. So many things are different now. It's hard to even think that there's a sense of normal or going back to normal. But glad to be here broadcasting live from what was once Nevada County Tech Center, which has now been rebranded to Nevada County Resilience and Innovation Center. As you can see, we're populating the green screen room here. And we got our show coming up tonight, a whole hour of entertainment and education with various presenters. So thanks for tuning in. Again, if you're watching the show, please subscribe, like it, and share it. That's how we can build out this platform of independent media and keep freedom of speech alive here at such a transitional time of human history and so much unrest and change. So thanks for tuning in. I'm your host again, Michael DiMartino, and we're going to get right into it. We got a lot of people here in the studio tonight that want to share a little bit about their amazing work in the region and community. And we're going to start off with our arts and culture part of the show with my first guest from the Kombucha. He was able to eke out a little bit of time to come here and be live in the flesh. I want a nice round of applause for Patrick Miller. And so what's happening in the world of kombucha and the kombucha these days?
Oh man, well we're getting ready. Like you said, 2020 has been crazy. I think for any business owner, right? It's all kinds of transitionary moments, and I'm kind of using the new year as a total mindset reset, if you will. So we're just kind of forward thinking. We're thinking about new flavors. We're thinking about new locations, because I part of this company that you don't see if you haven't been to the Gold Vibe Lives that we did over the summer is that we are passionate about the community and culture and the arts. And so there's the incredible beverage that my brother, the head brewer, and our other brewmaster, Skyzer, make. And then there's the other part of the business that we're trying to push forward, which is Gold Vibe Live, and kind of I think how me and Michael started talking originally was, me doing the Gold Vibe Lives and wanting to get the community together and just create positive energy blasting into 2021. And we're really looking forward to the summer and potentially a couple different new facility options.
Wow, exciting.
Yeah.
And you brought a lot of flavors here, so I'm going to take the liberty to crack one here while we're talking. Now, I do know you have both regular kombucha and you have hard kombucha. So this is one of the hard kombuchas here?
Correct. So that's Gold Vibe. So, and that one was, sort of birthed out of our regular kombucha. And you just add a little champagne yeast and let it go in a different container, and you get a little bit more alcohol in the kombucha.
So if I get tongue twisted tonight, I can blame the kombucha.
You can. Yeah. It actually, the interesting thing about kombucha alcohol, and I'll have one with you as well. Cheers.
Cheers to our live studio audience.
Cheers.
Thank you so much. I do want to say Patrick was very gracious and bought a whole case of kombuchas for our live and studio audience. So thank you for that. And just one of the perks.
Absolutely.
And so what goes into making a kombucha?
So kombucha is made with a SCOBY, which is an acronym actually for a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. So, if you've ever gone to someone's house or, tried it at your own home, you start with this little puck-looking patty, and a lot of people do it in a mason jar or some kind of, brewing vessel. Usually you don't want plastic because kombucha is acidic and can erode into the plastic, so stainless steel or glass. And it's essentially bacteria and yeast that together, the way that I've heard it is the yeast create alcohol, so small amounts of alcohol in regular kombucha, which is then converted by the bacteria into probiotics and different kinds of acids.
Well, it's interesting because I did see at a few of the health food stores to buy kombucha, you actually have to be of age because it contains alcohol.
Yeah. So for a non-alcoholic kombucha, there's different FDA guidelines, but for non-alcoholic kombucha, it has to be under 0.5 is the limit. But most non-alcoholic kombucha is right there, and then we do the hard stuff just because it's another fun way to get a buzz, but it also comes with all those probiotics, and you've got a little bit of your tea antioxidants, and you've got your natural fruit flavor. So it's a really organic beverage.
And it's amazing too because when we did the Dance for Water benefit at Kombuchery, the weekend of Earthstock, I'm not a drinker, I will confess, but I have to say when I drank a hard kombucha, I didn't get the lethargy, the brain fog, the downer energy, but also I didn't get the intestinal distress that can come with consuming alcohol. And like you said, with the probiotics and all the other elements, it was actually effervescently uplifting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, Sean and I and a lot of people in our circle, it's almost what we drink exclusively now because, I mean, we're so adapted to that kind of more uplifting buzz that when you go back to a beer or something, you almost feel sleepy. And I think what's interesting about our hard kombucha too is there's several brands that are in the industry now. We're one of the only ones in Northern California, but our hard kombucha is the only one that has whole food fermentation as the way it's brewed. So other hard kombuchas, they're using juice extracts, they're using different additive flavors. We're brewing it more like a wine, so we're throwing the fruit right into the fermenter, and we're letting the alcohol be created naturally through the interaction with the fruits and herbs in the tank. So it's a very unique way of producing hard kombucha, and to my knowledge, we're the only ones to produce it like that.
You are surely an innovator, sir. Great. So if people want to maybe go online, I know maybe you can share a little bit. You're actually making a lot of headway getting into major chains and stores that are not, I go everywhere. I go to Meze, I go to restaurants and stores in the area it's there, but you're also expanding beyond the confines of Nevada County to a whole regional, state, and potentially national market. What's happening with that, if you can share something?
Yeah. So we're working on getting this into a whole bunch of different chain grocery stores. So currently you can find it at Whole Foods. So Whole Foods is one of our first major grocery store partnerships. And we launched with these as single cans, but we're moving to 4-packs this year. So we've got these bright, beautiful, colorful boxes. You can find these in Rayleigh's, you can find them in Safeway. So we're Northern California regional at the moment due to our limited capacity at our current brewery, but we're looking at different avenues to be able to expand that and expand our distribution. And especially, one of the big changes of this year is that bars and restaurants have not been a source of kombucha drinking, unfortunately. Which has been a huge
or music
bummer.
or music
or
yeah.
just our lives, right? It's we don't have these communal spaces, and so if you think about the on tap experience, you getting that kombucha on tap or getting that beer on tap, that sort of part of the industry has sort of been. It's kind of gone. So we're looking to get these cans, anywhere we can. And we also just launched on our website. So you can actually go to goldvibe.com. You can order, and now we'll wrap it in an insulated package, ship it 2-day shipping to your house anywhere in the state of California. So kombucha to your door.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Impressive. Keeping it local, but also reaching out to the region. Great.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have a couple minutes left here, but I do want to say we're talking here live with Patrick Miller from the Kombuchery, a little bit about their incredible, delicious, nutritious, healthy, and some are hard product here. But you're also about to, you were doing a lot of live music shows at the Kombuchery, even when now I'm a musician, I typically perform several times a year all throughout Lake Tahoe, at Squaw Valley. We do the big art festival, play at Golden Era several times a year, usually New Year's,
Yeah,
Crazy Horse.
Yeah.
Barefoot Brewing.
So many good places
and
up here,
literally my last show was New Year's going into 2020. So it's been over a year since I've even performed, and that was a big staple of my living. So I know you were doing a lot with live music, and you have some plans in the last minute about what you'd like to do in the future. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I won't say too much because they're pending, confirmation. But we're looking at 2 different locations in the Grass Valley, Nevada City area, at spots to have venues, and we're hoping to be open by June 2021. One of them is a really large facility. I mean, we're talking potentially over 20,000 square feet of indoor space for music and gathering and kombucha drinking, food trucks, the whole nine. And if we do it, we'll be the first hard kombucha tap room in Northern California.
Well, especially for people who are health conscious and the community-minded people that are here in Nevada County. Part of it is if you look at Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, how huge they are, and they also have the tap room, and they also have where they're bringing in major national touring acts. So it's really exciting for me as a performer and producer and just a health conscious person to think about really all the different facets of what you're doing. So in the last minute of time that we have, would you like to leave our audience with any words of wisdom? And maybe again, you can share your website with everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to find the product and you want to order, I mean, it is, it's an amazing way to do it. I know it seems weird to get kombucha shipped, but we wrap it. It's UPS next day. It'll show up at your door cold. And we love, we put in little discount codes and stickers and the whole nine. So anyway, if you want to support the company and you're watching this, goldvibe.com. We've got beanies right now. I've got a couple that I'm giving to Michael over there. Under the booch he's holding, we've got insulated growlers,
gorgeous.
stainless steel growlers, T-shirts, all kinds of merchandise on goldvibe.com that we're selling now. And we're going to start doing this Friday. If you live local, yeah.
Applause button.
We've got a whole bunch of different colors. So we're trying to do anything we can, to keep the train rolling during these shutdown times. And we appreciate all the support that we've had so far. And this Friday, so if you live local, if you're Nevada County, Grass Valley, and you want to come up, we're going to start. We're going to open again like we did for Gold Vibe Live. We won't have the live music and all that, but we'll be at the brewery, doors wide open, Fridays from noon to 6. We're going to call them Fill Up Fridays. And we're going to do ridiculously discounted growler fill-ups, so you can come and you can get a full 64-ounce growler of our regular kombucha for $12, and you can come get our hard kombucha for $15. So,
And you're a dad.
New father, yeah.
Wow. So, have you been cloned yet, or what? What's really going on?
Yeah.
Again, I want to thank Sean Miller, and also your brother's here.
Yep. That's Sean.
Sean, and he's like the wizard, right?
The Booch Master.
The Booch Master, right? You're the one who makes the magic happen.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, let's do this. I really want to continue to help, again, think local, support locals. So maybe in the future, I would love to have you on the show. We could talk a little bit more, and always happy to support local businesses. And so we're going to come back in just a minute with lots more show. And after this, we have our next section, Being Green, with Bruce Marlowe. We're going to talk about water. I had the honor to meet Bruce just recently, actually, at the Afternoon Deli. And we talked about, a lot of interesting things, but one of our passions is water. And I was really amazed. This gentleman's doing so much. And it just is another testimony of how many amazing people live in our community and the work that they're doing. And kind of like with the Golden Road, bridging the past with today for a better tomorrow. The hundreds and the thousands of people that are these gold nuggets of this spirit of community that we so love and appreciate. So we're going to roll over to our next theme song done by Michael Shapiro, Golden Road TV, coming to you live from Nevada County Tech. And we'll be back in just about 60 seconds with Bruce Harlow. So thanks again, Patrick, and all the blessings to you and your business.
Thank you, and blessings to all. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
It's a golden road Show. Yes, it's a Golden Road TV show. Well, we've got it all going on here. It's a Golden Road TV show.com.
And we're back. You're watching Golden Road TV. I'm your host, Michael DiMartino. Happy to be here tonight. What, 12th of January? 12th of January, 13th? 12th. I don't even know if days are even relative anymore. But nonetheless, it's nighttime here in Nevada County. Thanks for tuning in. And we're going to interview our next guest. This part of the show is our environment and ecology part of the show called Being Green. And a new evolving friend, if I may be so bold in saying so. I'd like to welcome to the show, Bruce Marlowe. Nice round of applause for Bruce. And you're neighbors with Patrick.
Yep, he's right on the outside of the airport.
Fantastic.
I can hear the music from my hangar.
Uh-oh. Well, you're smiling. That's a good sign. Okay, good. So you're up at the airport. What do you do up at the airport? You and your wife, who we met recently. What's some of the work that you do up there?
Well, that's where we live. We've been here for 20 years, came from the Bay Area to relocate to a better quality of life. It's been beautiful here for the last 20 years. And for the last 5 years, pretty much I've been focused on doing things with water.
Right. And I know we talked about a lot of things like the new outside dining COVID chair and table idea, and TM, by the way. And anyway, so we've had a lot of great discussion. But what really we started to talk about is you've been involved in water, and I also want to acknowledge I'm also involved with an organization called the Alliance for Resilient Communities, and we're dedicated to helping bring solutions to make our community more resilient. And the idea with that is focusing on things like food, water security, emergency preparedness, and really important topics, resource management, because right now we've seen so many wildfires and so many different issues happening. And one of my passions really over the last 2 years has been water safety and security. So we started talking about that. Part of what you were doing that day is you were delivering 1,000 pounds or food or so up to the remote areas of Humboldt County to the...
Well, I do a lot of things in the community besides work on just water, right? So I do a lot of volunteer work, and there's an organization called CalDART, and CalDART needed to move some supplies to an Indian organization up in the northern part of the state from the southern part of the state. So there was a group of aviators that got together to make that transportation of about 1,700 pounds of supplies. And that was going on that day. And I was just helping to orchestrate that.
Wow, 1,700 pounds of supplies.
Right. And they'll do another 500 pounds tomorrow.
And you're bringing supplies up there, is it related to COVID or just support in general?
Yeah, support in general. There's a call out, they need supplies, they're short on whatever it is. It gets loaded into plastic containers and loaded into aircraft, and then it goes up there.
Wow, impressive. So that struck me with awe, and then we started to talk about water. Now, real quick, for those who don't know, about 2 years ago, we started something called Water Protector Tour. We did Water Protector Tour 2019. We did over a dozen events all throughout the watershed, which for our basic watershed, our bioregional watershed goes from Mount Shasta all the way to the Sacramento River Delta along the foothills and the peaks of the Sierras. Of course, our Water Protector Tour 2020 didn't really happen in the way we were expecting by doing large events and public forums and broadcasting, but we still did Earthstock and a few other events. And now we're planning Water Protector Tour 2021, which is really focused on the idea of environmental toxins that contaminate our water, and also looking at issues of privatization and mismanagement, thus the birth of the Sacramento River Watershed Project. And you can check out the website. But amazingly, we started talking, and you've been involved in a lot of different water-related projects. Let us look about your history.
Yeah, so I got introduced to water about in 2006. I was doing energy work and doing power. And of course, if you want to have power, you need water in a lot of cases. And water is energy. Water is power. And water started to ring with me. I realized that we don't survive on this planet without it. There's you'll live a million years here without the internet service and electricity, but you'll never live a day without water. It provides hydration, it provides food, and it rang with me. I mean, this is important. This is something I need to be working on because it's a limited resource. There's never any more or any less water on the planet, and so it's a matter of where it is and how it's being used.
Well, it's so interesting because, like you're saying, you work with certain facets of water. What's been interesting doing this water protector work, one day I might actually be working with the indigenous community who have a very particular relationship to water, not just as far as a resource, but also that water is sacred. There's a whole culture and ceremonial and spiritual aspects to it. And then, if you talk to people who are farmers, they have their own unique agricultural perspective on water. And then if you talk to people who work with energy, as you talk to people who do ranching, I mean, really, there's so many different facets to that. So you were also doing some other work too, which I would consider very innovative, and that's what really sparked interest. That a lot of your attention is going on solutions of problems. They might not be popular or known in the mainstream, like wildfires years ago. No one thought about traditional ecological and wildfire management, but now it's an issue. And you're talking about solutions to some of California's water issues.
Right. So we have a lot of challenges with contaminated water, as you mentioned, throughout the state. And so one of the first projects I worked on was a thermal solar desalination plant, where we took thermal solar energy, used multi-effect distillation, and we were cleaning agricultural drainage water. Because in California, we put about 20 million tons of salt on the land every year, irrigating the land. And we have about 200 million tons of salt on the land that needs to be cleaned. And we have a lot of contaminated wells, a lot of different types of salts, boron, selenium, and other things. So we're working on a way to use clean energy to make clean water. And then that led into something that became very important to me, which was how are we going to store water and what do we do with it? So big for me now is underground water storage. So we're working on some very large ways to store water underground as opposed to above ground, because we have about 10 times the capacity to store water underground in California as we do from all the design capacity of every above ground reservoir. So there's a lot of space. We need to fill it up. We need to make the aquifers happy. And we can also, while doing that, and help the environment, because when you do that sort of a project, you leave a lot of water on the surface as it infiltrates the ground. And so you have places for birds, you have places for fish to swim. It gets back to what California was before we put dams in.
Which is interesting because as a permaculture designer, we talk about slow it, spread it, sink it, save it,
right,
and share it. And I know, actually, we're going to show a clip in a minute. I want to go in a minute, please, Tara, to the documentary for Soul of the Delta. I'm going to show a quick clip, but one of the issues we've been working on the Water Protector Tour is to bring more awareness about the proposed Delta Tunnel project, which is looking at pulling a great percentage of water out of the Sacramento River Delta, which is 1,100 miles of waterways. And of course, if you go to Central Valley down through San Joaquin, a lot of the Central Valley is not only bone dry, except the water that we convey there, but the level of salinity it really makes the soil unusable for agriculture. And as we know, California is the breadbasket of the world. So what's interesting in the research, we're starting to look at, well, a lot of the reason the Central Valley has been so dry is because of so many dams and human-built water containment systems. And there's really, as far as I understand, not much of an effort to do groundwater storage. So this is something you're working on. So where does that play into a potential timeline, and where does that project stand?
Well, we've been working on this project for about a decade, but intensely for the last 4 years. So we have the ability to store about 600,000 acre feet of water underground. We actually have it stored there now. And the idea is to be able to use that water for beneficial use when it's appropriate. And so when it's raining a lot, storing it, and when it's dry for a while, pulling it out and using it for beneficial use. And it doesn't have evaporation issues. It doesn't have contamination issues if you store it in the right locations in the proper alluvial aquifer. We have 515 alluvial aquifers in California. Most of those are fairly clean and fairly stable. And we can put water in those and bring that out of there without subsidence. And it can be a very integrated part of the California water system that we have now, which is the most complex system in the world.
Right, and I know a lot of problems too with the conveyance all the way through Central Valley. There's a high rate of evaporation in those hot summer days.
Well, just give you an example, Lake Tahoe average in a year, 600,000 acre feet of water is evaporated. That's 5 vertical feet of the lake in one 12-month period.
Wow, it was interesting. I saw some helicopter views of like Fulton Lake and some of the other reservoirs, and I was up in Mount Shasta a few weeks ago, and parts of the actual reservoir up there are actually dry.
Right.
So are we under a drought condition?
We're in dry conditions again.
Yeah.
We came into it dry, and we're going to be dry. This looks like it'll be another drought style. Yeah, California has always been a Mediterranean style climate where it rains and rains, and it's flooded and everything's wet, and then it dries out and it's dry for a long, long time. Wow. So trying to adopt a water system for this place is complex, and it changes. What we did 40 years ago to build the system is not applicable today. So we need to make we need to pivot and make some changes.
Be more resilient.
Yeah, we have to come up with the other ways, non-traditional ways to do that. And there's a lot going on there. I mean, a lot of water is wasted in a way that could be used and then make its way to the ocean in a better way that allows the fish to swim, the birds to do their business, and the environment to be happy, while optimizing the use of the water and keeping it clean.
Well, it was amazing. I just got an opportunity to visit the migration of the sandhill cranes, and I spent time with one of the top researchers. And to think that these wetlands are going to go away, the effect of wildlife, the effect on the Delta economy, the effect on people, quality of life, it's really sad. So any words of wisdom or tip that we can offer to our viewing audience around water, or something they can do just to get something useful out of investing a little time watching us tonight?
Well, I think it's important to be knowledgeable about what's going on with your water, and to understand that without water, we don't have life. And if we don't get smart about it, we're going to wake up one day and all the current crisis going on is going to seem small in comparison. I mean, it really is going to be, a virus? What about the water? And you very rarely hear people talk about water. Tech companies don't care about water. It's something that just people expect it to be there when they need it. Turn on the tap, it comes out. If it doesn't, I'm going to call my congressman and tell him he's better get the water to my faucet. That's not the way this works. We have to be thinking, we have to be conscious about how we use our water, and we have to be thoughtful that this is our life, and we need to be paying more attention to what's going on in the bigger picture around the globe for water.
Absolutely. Words of wisdom. A nice round of applause, please, everyone, for Bruce Marlowe. So we're going to go now to the video, Soul of the Delta, which talks a little bit about the documentary we're working on, and then after that, I'm going to have our next guest on. We're going to talk. Well, we're going to kind of go into many different levels of discussion. We're going to start off with health and frequencies. These are people in the community that are doing a lot of great work, and we're also going to talk about some innovation and new paradigm technologies and concepts. And we'll be back in just a minute after this video, Soul of the Delta. we're back. You're watching Golden Road Television. I'm your host, Michael DiMartino, and thanks for investing a few moments of your sacred time here to not just ingest information, but to hear what amazing work people are doing in our bioregion. Hopefully you get inspired along with being educated, and you can find some way to get even maybe more involved in this incredible transformative time here on planet Earth. So the next part of our show typically is Gift of Health, and we have two presenters on that tonight. But we're also exploring the idea of doing something around innovation and new paradigms. And my next guests do that and a whole lot more that we probably won't be able to fit into 8 or 10-minute show. But nonetheless, I'd like to introduce my next guests, Shant Parv and Marama. Nice round of applause.
Thank you, Michael. I really appreciate you calling us here. And as a chance in these times, I think it's important that we all stand up and speak out as part of what's emerging right now, and to actually create what's emerging by standing up and speaking out. So thank you.
Great, definitely. And I know you guys do a lot. You've been presenting we were doing, well, until things shifted, we were doing our monthly alchemy, our spirit, mind, body wellness expo, and you guys were presenting. And I know you had a lot of really interesting technology that you were working on and doing energetic work with people. So maybe, Marama, you want to talk a little bit maybe about the work that you guys do around spirit, mind, body healing work?
Yeah. Well, in the frequency, there's many different frequencies. There are thousands that have been studied. Royal Rife, I don't know if anybody's heard of him, started studying it about a century ago and was doing all kinds of fantastic work with it until he was removed, and other people continued it throughout the world. And they have cataloged thousands of frequencies for body, for healing, tuning up organs, eliminated microorganisms, emotional health, and spiritual health. So in regards to that, there's because we wanted to talk about it as planetarily and physically. So looking at it in the frequency world, when we think of things, a sine wave. So a sine wave is like this. It's very smooth, and that is a very healing frequency. And so you use that when you're boosting anything. And a sine wave, or a square wave, is, and they could be tiny little squares trying to look like a sine wave, or they could be big squares. And those are killing frequency. So frequencies can do many, many things. They can heal and they can kill.
And these are both bioelectromagnetic frequencies, other types of frequencies.
Yes.
And of course, we live in a world, I know a lot of people have been concerned about things like 5G or the effects of cell phone on childhood development and stuff.
So the issue with those is that those are square wave. And so
Fabricated or maybe man-made.
they are man-made,
human-made, yeah.
and then we don't know what frequency that is being pushed through them. Like the specific frequency, one that's really well known is 528. That's a frequency of love and DNA repair. I doubt that's coming through the cell phones.
Well, there's an interesting story about that, Michael, 528. And it gives you a very good idea of the power and force of utilizing the actual fabric of where we live, because this is frequency. This metal, my coat, everything here is a frequency. Mm-hmm. And there was a Canadian man who took his transmitter during the Gulf oil spill, went down to Louisiana, grabbed some witnesses, went to the shoreline, in a small bay, put his transmitter in the water and transmitted 528 for a period of 4 hours. Over that 4-hour period, the bay cleared. After the bay was cleared, animals began flocking into the bay. It created such a stir, particularly the turtles and the whales and stuff, that the government came and extradited everybody. So that's a real positive framework on seeing the effect of frequencies. when you take something like that and you turn it negatively, I really shouldn't go down that road. They're very, very powerful, and they are utilized today. I'll just say that. Frequency technology is well known.
And of course, we see now even in the military, they're using microwave frequencies. The concern around 5G, that's 2018, by the way, Giselle. They're using microwave frequencies. And again, there's been a lot of studies around people who live by electric generator plants or high tension power cables. So, I mean, it's not conspiracy or kind of tinfoil hat type of stuff. We live in a world that's really governed and structured around frequency.
No, it's not, it's nothing. It's very, very real. Some of the more exciting new innovations in our work right now are doing forest remediation remotely. So some of the technology that we've developed works in the harmonic field, where we actually will take like a sine wave frequencies and transmit them through what we call the harmonic field, which is basically the effervescent field which we arise and live in. Now that field contains the signature frequency of light and has 10 to the 90th units of energy in it per square centimeter. That's 10 to the 90th. That's 1 with 100 zeros after it. Units of energy in the field you are sitting in right now watching this television show. So why aren't you feeling it? Because it's exerting itself omnidirectionally upon itself, holding itself in stasis. It is the field of potential. So it's very correct scientifically to say that you live in a boundless field of luminosity. Potential. So you, as a biocrystalline structure, wobble that frequency and get energy. Now, if we use that energy in a new way, and we begin to see it in a new way, and we start working with it in new ways, we're opening up what we call a new paradigm. And that new paradigm is really difficult to describe, because I guess I could use the example of a triangle. A triangle has a perfect oscillation to its shape, but there are triangles in a pyramid in a third dimension. A triangle on a piece of paper is two-dimensional, but it oscillates to the pyramid. So it's possible for it to take a quantum leap and be part of a pyramid. That's like us. And we're at a stage right now where we are working in a blind-sided mind, not a full spirit mind, and we don't even know our capabilities and our potentials.
And it's interesting too, because you use the word quantum, and there's been a lot of research. Actually, it's a word that's very much in the mainstream right now, like the quantum universe. But people are starting to understand that there's that which is perceptible by our average human senses, what we can hear, what we can see, what we can feel. But there's really multiverses of other experiences, dimensions of things happening that are not perceivable. Now, a lot of times in many cultures, yogis and mystics have worked with the art of meditation. There's been a lot of indigenous cultures that work with plant medicine so they can journey to or explore these other dimensions. But really, it's amazing because these things are really becoming immersed and more understood by the mainstream and more accepted. It's not so much.
No. It is totally understood by the mainstream, Michael. You have to understand that the human heart is the most powerful force on the planet, period. End of story. If we unite our hearts, when we unite our hearts, we change the electromagnetic flux of the planet. World Cup games. There are monitors of the electromagnetic fields up on the north rim of Canada and the United States. During World Cup games, when the things are going on and everybody's cheering and there's a human heart response of global, it's like those fluxes exactly align with those heart field experiences. And it's well known.
Yeah, and
this is not secret.
Right, when they say I worked a little bit with HeartMath Institute based in Santa Cruz, and they've shown where the magnetic field generated by the brain is really like, I think they said 10,000 times more, stronger than the brain. So here in our colonial Western Eurocentric society, we tend to think that the brain is the center of managing our body systems and the center of intelligence and knowledge. But really, there's something even deeper that's tied to our digestive biome, our gut,
Right.
our intuition, and it's the intelligence. It's the brain of our heart. And in the Heart Math Institute, they actually map out where they do these global coherence events where people will consciously drop into that field, and like you said, they can see a direct impact into the magnetic field of the planet.
Right. I'm laughing because there was a man in East India who said one time, he had me in tears. He said, "Well, you all think that your mind is in control, but the heart knows it is. It doesn't care what the mind thinks. The heart knows it. Lets the mind think what it wants to think. It knows it's in control, and it does the work anyway."
Well, I was going to ask you to finish with some words of wisdom, but that was a good tidbit. So since we're almost out of time here, and since we're moving into a world of balance, and I just want to go back to Marima, if you'd like to share a few words in our last 30 seconds that we have, or any words of wisdom for our viewers.
Words of wisdom, I'm not sure. Etymology, well, yes, there is etymology, because that's frequency too. So when we know the etymology of a word, we know what we're speaking, and that is the sound is frequency. Everything is frequency. Everything has a frequency. So if you're using a word and you think it means something, then the actual frequency of the sound coming out when the word was made, it's getting mixed up, the frequency and your intention, and so it comes out not right. So learning our words and the etymology of them is actually important in putting out the right frequency when we speak.
Beautiful. Nice round of applause, everyone, for Shankar and Marima. And I want to invite you both back on the show in future. And you're kind of some of the people, along with Nora and Ty and others, that we want to in the future maybe create more space so you could come in and create more content and reach people, because I think what you're doing in your work is not only commendable, but people need to hear what you have to say. And this is stuff you won't necessarily hear on corporate media. So again, thank you so much. And we're going to go over now to another Golden Road theme song version by Michael Shapiro. And after that, we have our next guest with the gift of health part of the show. We have Douglas D. Becker and Horacio Rao with gift of health. So stay tuned. We'll be back in just about 60 seconds.
It's a Golden Road TV show. It's a Golden Road TV show. Well, listen once, listen twice. Oh, won't you please take my advice? It's the Golden Road TV show.com. It's a Golden Road TV show. It's a Golden Road TV show. Well, listen once, listen twice. Oh, won't you please take my advice? It's the Golden Road TV show.com.
And we're back. And I've moved over here to the podium. As you can see, I'm being sidelined, but always happy to share space and collaborate. And actually, that's a big part of what this show is about. I do want to do a shout out to Raina Satori, who is not able to be here tonight, and she's been helping to co-host this show with the Peace and Justice Report. She will hopefully feel better and be back next week. But at this point, I'm going to turn over the show over to my other co-host with the gift of health, and he's going to be speaking with someone who was actually here last week, and I'll let him introduce. But again, you're watching the Golden Road TV show. I'm your host, Michael DiMartino, and please share the show, like, subscribe. We're going to continue to be broadcasting live every Tuesday and putting up more content over the course of the week, and we're also going to be starting United Media TV as a bioregional independent media channel. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce, let's go over to our co-host, Douglas D. Becker, for Gift of Health.
Thank you, Michael. It's an honor to be here and help to share simple things that everyone can do to help their health and the health of their community. So today we have Horacio Roa, who was here last week, and Horacio is a natural health practitioner, holistic educator, and we were talking earlier about reaction. And reaction to different events, foods, people, thoughts, feelings. And we are having a really interesting conversation. Do you want to share more about that?
Hello, Douglas. Very nice to be here with you all. And we get back to our healing chat together, and I'm very happy to do that again. Something in healing, we try to looking for a cause. Our reaction is one of the main triggers of different health situations, not only physically, also emotionally. Then how I react right now myself in this situation, and how much adrenals I produce, or how much endorphins I produce. Then we are action and reactions machine. And one of the things I suggest to my clients is try to separate ourselves a little bit more of the situation and try to see the consequences of our reactions. Don't looking for too much. The cause of our problems is actually outside.
How do you suggest that people separate themselves? And what's the benefit from that?
Our brain, our mind is very sensitive. If we don't have filters to prevent the next reaction, we can get hurt. Actually, the brain gets scars, gets trauma when we don't have filters. We need to use our pain. Our pain is a teacher. Then when we remember, I remember how I hurt myself because I was not able to stop my anger, or how I hurt people I love because I cannot to stop my reactions. Then this pain is a foundation. For the next time I can separate myself a little bit and see if I can do differently. But if I blame somebody else for my pain, and never I can take enough responsibility on my reactions.
So I'm curious because I know a little bit about your background in that you grew up with kind of an indigenous influence from the in Paraguay. Yeah, your parents were indigenous Paraguayan, and your grandfather was a healer. Yeah,
my grandfather was a Guarani healer. Yes, from Paraguay.
So is this is what you're talking about your experience and what you've learned over time, or is this actually something that was part of that teaching within the indigenous people?
Well, is both things. Then in the Indian traditions, we don't think too much because we don't have too much material to think. Then we don't have too much information or database, means we feel. Then feelings is our way to understand what's going on. And I have education in psychology, mostly in Jung, Gurdjieff, and I learned to remember myself and separate myself from my own anger or from my own misery.
Interesting. So yeah, in the Tibetan tradition, we talk about reaction to reaction from an idea that things are disconnected, and from a belief that things are that things don't change, and because we forget that things always change and that everything is connected, because we forget that, we react to it. And then the way they explain what motivates the energy in the system and embryologically when we develop, and then later on when we're living our life and consuming different foods and drink and having the different lifestyle habits and thoughts and feelings and all that, those are actually driven by the reaction. So it's very similar to like what you're talking about. Yeah.
In many cases, our reactions determine our health. And if I react always with anger and with frustration, I'm going to create one direction in my life. Or if I react with acceptance, or I react with wisdom.
Yeah, the way they explain it is if you react with the anger, you end up with more what in physiology you'd call catabolic or dysaerobic free radical oxidation in the system. It would produce that from that emotional reaction. And that if you react to it through kind of depression and sadness, closed-mindedness, then that will actually create anabolic or anaerobic activity in the physiology. And you'll be drawn to actually incorporate bacteria and different foods that support that bacteria to go in that direction in your system. Or if you react to through pride and attachment, then it'll produce another type of thing with your nervous system, a dominance with your nervous system.
We know what, but we don't know how. Then my work in healing is share information, knowledge, experience, how you can react differently.
Nice. So, and then I guess we may also be doing a longer healing chats version through Golden Road, and yeah. So thank you. Keep tuning in. We'll consistently be dropping some interesting information. Oh yeah, your website.
Yes, my Holistic Eye is my website. We have right now online courses. We try to help for new holistic health coach. This is what I do, holistic coaching. And we try to encourage young people to become new healers for these times. Holistic healing is the way how we believe is the way to understand the totality for new times.
And then my website is indigenousmedicine.net. And I also have a nonprofit to support education for making indigenous medicine more accessible and more understandable. And that website is phalamritam.org, phalamritam.org. It means the essence of the fruit, actually. So thank you so much. We really appreciate the opportunity to share.
It's a Golden Road TV show.
explores the intersection of arts, environment, culture, health, peace, justice, science, and technology.
It's the Golden Road, the TV show.com.
And we're back. We're kind of sprucing things up here around the studio. If you watched last week, you noticed we're working on evolving our set here. And we actually have a few people who came to the show the last few weeks who are going to help work on some set design. And we just want to let you know that this is really a collaborative show. Before my next guest, I want to thank Tara back there helping to do all the technical. It's pretty intensive, heady technical work. I also want to thank Ted. He's here somewhere for helping to be our floor director and kind of keeping things moving smoothly. And I also really excited. Last week we had Steve Nathan on the show, and he's going to help connect the dots and some things. So we want to thank Steve for being here tonight. And also Giselle, because she's exploring to work with us on some set design. So very exciting as things continue to evolve here, getting right out of the gate here in 2021. So our next guest we're going to have is part of our show called, we're going to go back to arts and culture a little bit. We'll use that at least as a taking off point, but I'm sure we're going to talk about a lot of different things, about visionary art, about community resilience. But I'd like to welcome to the Golden Road TV show our next guest, Davin Infinity from, we're going to talk about ancient futures and global research he's been doing. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, it's great to be here. I actually work here at the Hub, so been filling out this beautiful room and excited to connect tonight.
Right. Did you get a kombucha yet?
Yes, I'm familiar with them too. Been attending the Gold Vibe all summer and also purchase them at the store once in a while, and hopefully want to contribute to the future of their events too in a brilliant new way. Patrick and I have had some cool discussions about that.
And I know you've been working, you and I have been working together at Golden Road Productions through your creative energy agency, doing some branding, some logo work, and actually starting to work on some media. So I know you are you have your hands in many multiverses, my friend. And let's start off a little bit about some of the work you've done in the past and kind of where that's bringing you in the moment and what the future might look like.
Awesome. Well, I was kind of born into the realm of activism, art, and revolution, being born in San Francisco, and also spending a lot of time in Berkeley and Oakland growing up. And I ended up doing a double major right up the road here in Northern California at Chico, studying multimedia art, performance, graphic design, all based around the future of communication. And I also found my way into levels of the mystery schools and indigenous wisdom, and learned the djembe, and later went on to study taiko drumming at the San Francisco Taiko Dojo in Japantown, San Francisco. Wow. All the while traveling the world. I am representing United because my mother broke the record, the longest employee in United's history. She was an international flight attendant for 50 years, 50 years. She went past 3 years of retirement. Wow. Her favorite cities were Seoul, Korea, Tokyo, Berlin, and of course, Paris. And so I kind of grew up in the womb with that international jazz, but being a California native and studying the indigenous wisdom and the mythology of Califia, the Amazonian sort of warrior goddess that the Spanish brought the name California through. I was fascinated by mythology, storytelling, and how culture and society form off these traditions of ritual and rites of passage. And so here I am at 44, having been to 54 countries. And what we're going to see eventually is some about 10 images of art and graphics and projects I've been working on.
So why don't we, as we're talking, why don't we just have Tara scroll through some of those images?
Okay.
Maybe we'll take like
Yeah,
a
that sounds
minute
good.
on each image and give people, because again, I know you're a visual artist and like to share a little bit about your work. So we got really lucky. You landed here at the hub. You were supposed to be at the World's Fair in Dubai, which of course, because of many changes in the world scenario, you're here, and it's been really great to build up a friendship. So what do you, and I know you were just in San Francisco, and what are you doing right now?
Yeah, well, as we see some of these images, I'm looking at Earth 2.0 from a research perspective of the ancient and the future. Everything I've done, every study, initiation, every trip that I've planned out for traveling, and over 2,000 projects I've been a creative director or a collaborator with, they're all around this theme of ancient future. And as you and I talk a lot about our influences with travel and ancient wisdom and the journeys into mystery schools and shamanism or earth-based medicine and pagan traditions, ancient future is the multi-dimensional look at our connection to earth and the divine. And so Life Quest, the Legacy, is one of the projects I've been working on. And I was really like looking at colonization and indoctrination, all these like traumatic imprints into the planet. And I was like, well, where did these renaissances or these golden era cultures get born from? How are they funded? How are the collaboratorium models set up? What is the future of humanity if we come from such a traumatic past? And so with this Local Earth project with Joshua and re-inhabiting the village with a crew up in Portland, I've been traveling the world studying the basic models of a future humanity, going to Damanhur in Italy, Oroville in India, the new progressive societies, the technological wonders like you see in Shenzhen and Singapore and Seoul, Korea, and of course San Francisco, New York, Portland, Los Angeles. And how are these whole systems connected to the ancient places we've been? And I really, started to look at what is tribal society, what are empires, and what is a global unified planetary culture. And as you'll see here, these images, the thousands of years we've traversed through tribal, nomadic hunters and gatherers, to agricultural and to empire building, and unfortunately colonization and indoctrination, and the removal of indigenous peoples' lands, rights, cultures, rites of passage, and earth-based traditions. Well, we also are upon the planetary society, also seen in the great works of Gene Roddenberry with Star Trek, where we are on the verge of merging unified field physics with technology, with AI, with empathy and compassion and indigenous rights activism. United Nations just coined the return of indigenous wisdom and restorative justice and social activism as the most important goal for the year of 2021 in their United Nations annual report. And restorative justice also looks like, how do we restore the Trumpsters of the world, people who have infringed upon liberties, but we have to restore justice by seeing criminals as a way of reforming how we treat actions, and we reform. So we're going to restore power to the indigenous, and we're going to reform what we think of the criminal system. We're going to give them a newfound purpose to find their situation and their involvement with our culture. So we're not going to divide, but we're going to reform and unify how prison systems and police departments are funded. And we're going to look at decentralized technologies and decentralized society as Bitcoin has just hit $40,000 valuation, balanced with the stock market, which is in record highs, as unemployment and poverty is in record lows. We're gonna balance that division, and I think a cue to the Reformation and that activism is what we've talked about a lot here at the Hub is neo-tribalism, which looks at that societies are embedded with the DNA to evolve through rites of passage, through eco-village development, through growing your own food, and that these things, when they're missing, lead to complete crisis, disease, and viral memes that will destroy society quicker than the wildfires of California did this year.
Right, and I know that's been one of the things we've really connected about and talked about, which actually isn't really in the discussion of maybe our so-called California or West Coast conscious community, about community resilience, about not just knowing about or talking about or thinking about things like food and water security, but actually doing things, whether it's visionary art, whether it's getting out and doing art or activism, I call artivism, whether it's organizing events, doing things with partnering with nonprofit agencies, but actually contributing on some level to this conscious transformation of the human condition right now. And as much as I love dancing, I'm a musician, really over the last year, I've sacrificed a lot of these things to become more engaged in the community and more active. But the key is when we do that, we also have to balance the spirit, the mind, and the body with the action and the activism so that we don't become depleted or start to take a negative spin or we're against things. And very much this show, the Golden Road Show, and I know you and your work, we have to be for life, we have to be for building bridges, and we have to absolutely be about finding solutions to these things. And I know that's a great part of your work. You actually have this amazing image that you put up. And again, we're not going to be able to zoom in absolutely on it, but just tell us a little bit about what's this in the last minute or two that we have. And again, I do want to say we plan on having you on the show since you're one of the tenants and members here of the Hub and the Collaboratory. But what is symbolized here in this beautiful visual aid?
Well, it's a triptych based on our conversations and our bioregional work that I've been doing here for 7 months since I moved to the Hub here. It's looking at challenges and the blessings and some of the curses that California is facing. It is definitely a golden state of innovation. You know, growing up in Silicon Valley, I looked at some of the interesting dichotomies and paradoxes of things like AI and technology, and some of the the great companies have been based out of there over the last 40 years, but also the removal of indigenous people off the land during the gold rush starting in 1849. And so looking at some of the mythology and challenges that California is facing, especially around water and land, and the history of a lot of its beauty and innovation, and then moving into the future, how we take its mythology with Califia and a lot of the indigenous teachings and a map of the 300 tribes and languages that were spoken throughout time, throughout California, and how it relates to solutions. So any futurist or design scientist, which I practice both of those fields, I'm actually a certified and trained futurist through the Institute of the Future, which is right across the street from Stanford in Palo Alto. And I'm also initiated in different lineages of the mysteries and ancient wisdom. So
you're a modern day Jedi, in other words.
More like a modern day Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange meets the Jedi.
Because the Jedi is a mythology that comes from ancient Egypt. The Jed Pillar, they were the guardians of the temple, which is where George Lucas got the mythology for
Star Wars.
And he changed the spelling, yeah. And it also comes from the Taoist culture, which I've been practicing the Taoist lineage for over 20 years and studying the I Ching and Qigong and Tai Chi. But that path, the path of the sage or the path of the wisdom keeper, or in the Western traditions, the path of the magi and the wizard, they're all connected to their connection to the multidimensional realm and their ability to bring all that energy through their bodies and connect to the core of the earth and all the mineral kingdoms of the first and second dimension. And, then they spiral out and up, connecting to the 12th dimensional human being. But beyond all of that, and within all that is embedded the micro, the macro, is creativity and fun and humor and a lot of, because you
collaboration.
Yeah, but you approach the paradoxes with, like a Jedi would, with a true sense of wisdom, of knowing that the energy, that the holographic is driving all of that. So whether it's you voted for Trump or Biden, or support women's movements, or know the background of Kamala Harris and her parents and how they were both fell in love in Berkeley, and her father went on to teach at Stanford, the first immigrant and black teacher in the 70s at Stanford, and her mother comes from the Brahmin lineage, the most elite class in India. And then you have this woman who grew up in Oakland and Berkeley area, studying law, and went to an all-black college. But then you have all these conspiracy theories that want to take her down, this great movement of democracy and women's rights that we've seen this year through Kamala. It's profound to look at the paradox of life itself. And a week later, we look back at the Capitol siege, and there's so much paradoxes there, and people were driven by theories and objections and beliefs, and you see that tension there in the footage. And that's the beauty of America and the beauty of democracy, is it's a drive and a journey, a shamanic journey towards a more perfect union.
And of course, as long as people are nonviolent, because we live in such a age where everyone has a truth and a perception, and they really believe that their perception and their truth is the absolute divine, absolute truth. And a lot of people want to wave flags and pontificate their truth. But as you know, there's a organic process of how nature is self-organizing in its essence. So through all of this and all the changes that are happening, regardless of your spiritual, political beliefs, that we have to find a peaceful way to somehow get back to that common ground that we share. Because as you and we've talked about this a lot, America really is the birthplace of this phoenix of potentiality. Many other parts in the world are very ingrained in tradition and have a certain way of being, but us as a 200-year-old country with the unfortunate horror of genocide to a lot of the indigenous communities, we have the opportunity to actually create and innovate and collaborate on something new, to be that phoenix rising from the ashes of an old paradigm. But as we know, there's going to be a lot of bumps along the way. So I think we have about a minute left, and I'm going to have Bob Saunders on for a couple of minutes, because Bob is another person who will be coming on the show in the future. Bob is my partner with the Sacramento River Watershed Project. And as you can tell, the show is very eclectic. We're all over the place talking about all these topics. But in the future, and I want to reach out to Bruce and also to the gentleman I just met from Geo Solutions and others, that we can potentially do like a weekly 15 or 30-minute show on just water. We can do shows just on health, and that we're inviting the community to come here into the studio to create conscious, non-corporately sponsored content to give people a voice. But even more importantly than just information is to actually look at solutions and innovation, and to actually activate and implement them. So in the last 30 seconds we have, and it's a lot to ingest everything that you said, and again, I'm excited about our ongoing discourses. Any words of wisdom that you can leave our viewership with before we have Bob Saunders on?
Well, just to embody this time with wisdom that we're in, a planetary crisis, a pandemic, a quarantine, a lockdown. Even when you study all the roots of these words, and the 40-day quarantine that people had to spend off of boats, during different phases of human evolution, that all of this is working towards the greatest good, and start to really connect the dots of all the blessings that are happening, all the animals that are appearing out of nowhere and coming back to take back the concrete jungle. But also start to embody your future of where do you want to travel, and how will the new you travel to these places. And so what future can you design that will help heal a lot of the trauma of the past, and what wisdom can you study in the past that will take you down a golden road of a brighter future, and just start to embody the ancient future and maybe start to embody art and creativity more, whether you're home with your kids or your boss on Zoom. Now is the time to embody that creative energy, because this new decade, as Buckminster Fuller he predicted that 2020 would be the design science decade, that we're about to approach the future of technology and humanity are going to merge into the greatest decade, and it will be beyond the roaring 20s we saw right after the pandemic 100 years ago, and it's going to be the soaring 20s, or if the roar is in there, it'll definitely be because we all embody the spirit of the lion and leadership, and the Black Panther kind of guardianship that we were all feeling when Chadwick Boseman died this year, and Black Panther rose to be one of the most successful films in film history, up there with Avatar and with Endgame, which also represents humanity's future through death and the virus, and Parasite being the #1 film last year. It's all connected. So what we create into the world literally is now showing up. Like every day, the next day it's showing up. The biggest memes on the planet literally become the themes we're living in and facing. So you can't hide the future and you can't hide the past, because they are one.
There we go. Nice round of applause for Davin Infinity. So I'm going to ask you to stay on set for a minute, and then we're going to go over to, I just want to make sure we have just a couple minutes left. And again, I want to thank everyone for your patience. I know, well, maybe not for some of us, but sitting for an hour to ingest something besides Netflix's latest great blockbuster or fantasy films can be challenging. But again, we appreciate your time and energy and intention. In the future, we are going to actually edit these into different areas of content: the health and wellness, the peace and justice, the environment and ecology, the arts and culture, so people can actually see parts of the show that they might be extremely particularly interested in. But nonetheless, with an open mind, hopefully we can start to see the interconnectedness of all these different areas, how these are all part of the human condition, the global condition, and this plays into community resilience. Things are not separated. Science and technology is not different than nature and ecology. So I'm going to put on my headphones, and let's see if we can get Bob Saunders up on the screen here, and we're going to have a quick discussion about his work. Bob Saunders was an instrumental part of Crush Nestle Alliance years ago that was privatizing water and really take for and a lot of work that he's been doing around family support and other things. So Bob, let's get you on camera and hold up your thumb if you can hear me. Okay, let's get Bob on camera. Can you hear me? Hold up your thumb.
Wait, there we go.
There you go. You're a little shaggier than last time I saw you, but you're looking good.
Yep.
How you doing there in Sacramento?
Yeah.
How you doing there?
I'm doing okay.
How you doing there in Sacramento?
Oh, okay, hanging in there.
And
Can you hear me?
why don't you share a little bit about what you're doing with the Sacramento River Watershed project, please?
Sure. We're basically, what we're doing is it's part of the overall Sacramento River Watershed project, and one focus right now is on the Sacramento San Joaquin Delta, or some people call it the San Francisco Bay Delta. It encompasses the largest estuary of on the west coast of the Americas, and it's considered a national treasure. And essentially, how you get the water down there is it flows from Siskiyou County up in Northern California, which just below of Mount Shasta. The snow melts; it works its way down a series of rivers, and then works its way down into the sloughs of the Delta. It's a really pristine area. There's a unique community of farmers, fishermen, environmentalists, indigenous tribes, recreationalists, tourists, multi-generational inhabitants, some of the most unique species of fish, and especially salmon, and essentially all people who want to preserve the Delta's way of life and its unique and threatened ecosystem. And like many,
Bob, are you on speakerphone? You might have to turn your speakerphone off, and we can hear you through the computer, please.
okay, hang on a second. Let me turn it down. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that. Yeah, it's just as an ecological area has its beauty, it also has its predators who want to take what is there and commodify its resources for profit and gain. And usually that's done by political means through chicanery, backroom deals, and things like that. You know, and no one more so than the indigenous people can speak of what has been done to them over time, because they were basically the stewards of the water. They were the water protectors, and essentially there are remnants of even in the Delta, there are remnants of tribal people that came there before who used the tule weeds there for to make baskets and
exactly
things like that.
And Bob, do you have headphones?
So much of that is so rich. Excuse me?
We're getting a little bit of feedback. Do you have headphones you can put on?
I'd have to go find them.
Well, let's do this. Let's commit a whole section of the show next week for Sacramento River Watershed Project. But I want to get you on tonight. We're having a little bit of a technical bounce back, and we'll resolve that over the next few days. But that'll about bring us to the end of the show. But let's do a little system test this week with the headphones. And I know I'll be talking to you in the next few days because you and I are about to embark on the Tahoe Basin Watershed Project.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I appreciate you taking time to chime in. Thanks for being on hold. And I think that'll about get us to the end of the show, and we'll talk probably in the next day. So that'll bring us to the end of a Golden Road TV show. Tonight, I do want to thank, again, Tara and Ted. I'd like to thank all of my guests tonight. Of course, Davin Infinity for being on the show. I'd like to thank Douglas D. Becker and Horacio Roa. Also, Shant Parv and Marama for coming on the show. And also Bruce Marlowe for coming on the show, talking a little bit about his work with water. And that'll about do it for us today. We went a few minutes over an hour, but, you know, there's a lot to fit in such a short time. We're just getting back on track. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, for listening in. And we're going to finish one of our theme songs, and that'll about do it. And again, please subscribe, like, share the channel, share the show. This is how we can continue to build our independent community media, not just here in Nevada County, but really in the region, the Sacramento River Watershed, and around the world. Thank you so much. And again, Davin, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I always appreciate our social discourse together and all of our work and collaboration. So that'll do it until next week. Everybody be well, be safe, and follow your intuition and be kind. Thank you so much.
It's a Golden Road TV show. It's a Golden Road TV show.
Golden Road explores the intersection of arts, environment, culture, health, peace, justice, science, and technology.
It's a Golden